several people have asked, and I've said that I'll talk about it up here, is what projects I'm involved in, what's coming up. And I would like to start with a very profound apology. I just finished a film called Space Marines, which is an action-adventure film for young kids. It's a very good film. There were problems with it. I was pretty badly hurt during an explosion. The guy next to me, Billy Worth, a wonderful young actor, got second and third degree burns all over his face and neck. It was a difficult situation. It was supposed to be, we throw a grenade in a doorway and then we hide behind the door, and the explosion's supposed to go out. What happened was the explosion, instead of being thousands of little sparkly things, was one big darn comet that came out, hit the far wall, broke in about 8 pieces, came back and landed all over us. I mean, literally on Billy's face. What I remember is a wall of flame, and the rule is in a stunt situation, when something goes wrong, you never break the rehearsed blocking. You stick to the blocking. But I don't know how I heard it, but I heard Billy make a noise that had the same effect on me as hearing my daughter go, "Dad!" And I went out, and all I remember is going into fire after him, and to my amazement, he was coming out, but his face was literally on fire. And I got him down, and I poured a water cooler on him, and a guy, one of the grips and I ran, we got oxygen to him. Somebody called 911, and I carried him to the ambulance. I jumped off a loading dock, which is when I hurt my back. And put him in the ambulance and went to the hospital with him, because from my own experience, you don't want to leave somebody alone in that kind of a situation. And by telling people I was variously his brother, his padre, and his lover, I literally talked my way into intensive care and stayed with him the whole night. They wanted to tie him down, but I was concerned that if he woke up and didn't know where he was, and he was in shock and he was tied down, that it's not the kind of experience you want a young person to have. So about every 15 minutes he'd start to try to get up with all these tubes over him, and I'd calm him back down, and he'd kind of look at me and realize that it was okay, and lay back down and stuff. And the next day we went home, and I was amazed because, you know, I went and I tried to sleep and had terrible dreams for about half an hour, and I thought I'd go over and check on him. And I expected to see attendants outside the door and the room dark and him sort of half comatose. And I go over there, the door's wide open, he's got a couple of girls there, the music turned up, he's in his jeans with his shirt off talking on the phone. You know, in the meantime, I'm hammered because he got the sleep of Morpheus all night and I was up with him. So he's doing really, really well. We went back in the last couple of weeks, we finished up the film. Amazingly enough, one half of his face was perfectly untouched. So we ended up using that half of the face to finish the film. Isn't art wonderful? It's not, I don't think, necessarily a film that you guys got to rush out and go see. There are other ones that I'll tell you about that are more interesting. But I just thought I'd catch you up on the latest adventures of whatever. The thing that I've got to apologize for is while I was down there, people kept coming up to me and sort of giving me the old elbow wink wink and saying, "Hey, I saw you in Sexual Malice." And I said, "You what?" "Well, the film you did, you know, with all the... I said, "I didn't do that film." And I said, "Well, yeah, you did. It's on Cinemax." I said. And although I didn't see it, I had it described enough to me, and actually there were 2 people on Space Marines who had worked on it, who saw it on TV and didn't even realize it was the film that they had worked on until they saw me. What these people, and I use the term loosely, did was I signed to do a film called The Other Man, and the only sex in it was a hot tub scene, where all you see of me is from here on up, and I was wearing a bathing suit. She wasn't, but I can't control that. But that was as far as we went. And I mean, I've done other films with love scenes and stuff, and it's relatively acceptable. But I do draw the line in certain areas of violence, in certain areas of sex, and certainly in areas concerning the devil. I mean, this is not that I even believe in it, but I just don't want to add to the energy that can be in people's spirits anyway. Anyway, this scene was described to me, and it was a scene that I shot that was in the middle of the film. And it's me driving home. Hi, honey, I got the promotion. Oh, I knew you would, darling. Hey, put the champagne out. It's in the fridge. No, it's not. I put it on the table. I'm so proud of you. End of scene. The way it's described to me is I'm on the phone in the car. Hey, honey, I got the promotion. And they cut to a woman in a negligee rubbing oil on herself. And then they cut to my wife. Oh, you know, I knew you would. Cut back to me. Put the champagne out and cut back to a lady rubbing more oil on herself. And she's in a kind of a Fredericks of Hollywood thing and sort of exposed, shall we say. They cut back to my, and I mean, and I'm sitting here with my jaw on the floor listening to the description of the scene until apparently at the very end of it, the way it was described to me at least, the camera's pulled back and she's now rubbing oil all over herself, and there's like black candles, a pentagram, and my 8x10 publicity glossy on the table. And I can see a lot of open mouths here. And I know y'all are going to go running out and see this film. But apparently what they did was after we finished principal photography, they went back and shot a lot of sex scenes, including a scene where I shoot somebody, and they used the reverse that I shot, and then shot a completely different reverse. Again, with somebody worshiping with black candles or something like that. And what they do is they create a production company just to make the film. And then when the film is finished, they dissolve the production company. So nobody, and I've got lawyers, I was going to go after them for everything I was worth, and the lawyer said there's nothing to go after. So, my apologies to all of you for this apparently very, very tacky piece of filmmaking. One of the reasons that I'm increasingly involved in directing and producing is that the downside of being an actor is that you have, unless you're on stage, at which point when you walk on stage, it's you in control until you walk off. As an actor, you give your performance, and everybody, including the producer's mother-in-law, has a say-so in how it's put together. It can literally be edited by the director, re-edited by the producer, edited by the editor occasionally, edited by people who know nothing about film. Or, you know, the producer screens it and his wife says, well, I don't know, you know, I'd like to see more of, you know, and you have people who really don't have any right to have a say-so, having a major say-so. And it is something, a reality that we all have to live with as actors, but it's one of the deep frustrations because many times when you create a character, you create what we call an arc, where each scene is a building block taking the character through an emotional growth or a change, transition, progression. And each step is dependent on the steps that come before it. And in many cases, a performance is ruined. This wasn't ruined, but I did a film 2 years ago called Guarding Tess with Shirley MacLaine and Nicolas Cage. If you saw the film, you may have noticed that I have third billing, which is very good billing with those, in a very deep cast, a very strong cast, but I've only got one scene in the film. What happened was, in the original script, which was wonderful, Shirley dies at the end of the film. And the film opens with Nicholas sitting next to her casket, and you know through the whole film she's going to die. Now, in the course of and it worked. It wasn't maudlin, it wasn't bad, it was really a life-affirming story. But about halfway through it, the producers apparently chickened out and thought, well, God, Shirley's so sympathetic, we can't kill her off at the end, the people want their money back, and it's going to be good. So in the course of the editing, what they did was they changed the whole heart of the film. She doesn't die anymore. They pull her out of a hole where she's been kidnapped and buried and everything, and all of a sudden everything's rosy. Well, the problem with that, to achieve that, they had to change some sequences within the film.